And it says it's doing something. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Excellent connection. And it says we're live. No picture yet, but
I'm
here we
at
go.
90.
Oh, there we go. There we go. Yay. And then I'm going to do the little thingy bop to make sure.
Wop.
Do do da do wop. Do 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 wop.
Who are those idiot kids? Whatever. Yeah. Oh, okay. I like idiot
they
kids.
They did a new version of that song just last year. Within the last
I think
year.
I heard about that.
It was like M-Bop version 2 or something.
But I mean, with these kids at what they're like 50 years old now?
Yeah, they're like our age. I don't know. Now you have to you are required to look it up now that you've invoked it.
Fuck. Jesus Christ.
While the announcement goes out that we are live, which takes a minute. How old are the M-Bop kids?
I just okay. Bop.
I used to always with our collective friend Rebecca, I used to make fun of her and say they were girls because they had long hair. But they're not.
That's oh God. Let's see. Songwriter. This is about the song. Come on, where the fuck?
They were like brothers, weren't they?
I think so.
It's like three brothers.
There we go. Hanson. Isaac Hanson, Taylor Hanson, Zach Hanson. Yeah. Okay. Come on, you stupid shit. Well, no, he's not. No, they're younger. Taylor Hanson's 41.
Okay. Oh, that's close enough.
Yeah, close enough. It's not like they're 25.
And the beginning of this is why I never go to karaoke with my wife, amongst other reasons.
Let's see. One of them was born in 80, the other one 83, and the other one 85. So the one born in 80 would be, I guess, the oldest one. Yeah, duh.
Good job. Good job.
Oh yeah, great analysis. I mean, the analysis is going, hard and fast here, folks. Let me tell you, whoa, getting impressive information. So he's 44. Well, not yet. So the other one's 41. I guess the other one's 39. So they're like early 40s. So yeah.
So should we start this actual show?
Yeah.
Thing, whatever thing. That. Okay. Flip over to here. Flip over to here. Flip over to here. And intro, go! Welcome to Curmudgeon's Corner for Saturday, August 17th, 2024. It's 2:41 UTC as we're starting to record the show. I'm Sam Minter. Did I say that? And here's Yvonne Bowe. Hi, Yvonne Bowe's back after a multi-decade absence. So here we go.
Multi-decade,
Welcome back. Yes.
I am now 70 years old.
Yes, exactly.
That's what happened.
There was a cryo chamber involved in some way, like your head was frozen in a jar,
and we're in space.
Right?
We're doing this from the space station, orbiting the moon, right?
Yes, the moon space station. Yes,
yeah,
that's where we are.
Okay.
So anyway, we're going to do our usual, which is we'll have a but first section where we talk about whatever, and then we'll have more serious news sections, one generally driven by Yvonne and one generally driven by me. That's the plan. I will start out before I even get to my real but first, which of course I have a movie, but is that I said right before we hit the theme song and started, I said that what you heard of my rendition of Mbop was one of the reasons why I do not go to karaoke with my wife, but I will mention the other reason. Well, one of many other reasons, but another reason I do not go to karaoke with my wife is last weekend, my wife indeed went to karaoke. And what did she bring home for the whole family?
Tequila?
COVID.
Oh, well, okay. Well, that's something else.
So she got COVID at the stupid karaoke, and
but come on, look, you're blaming karaoke to be fair.
And now we have it all. I mean,
first of all, there's been COVID going around a lot. Okay. I mean, we have our listener, Bob, who said his wife got karaoke. Got COVID.
He caught karaoke. Yes, she caught karaoke.
She got karaoke.
It was a horrible.
I mean, all of a sudden, she came home and just started singing. And then he sung. It's just one of those things. Yes, yes. It's a terrible disease. No, she got COVID, and I'm sure she wasn't at a karaoke bar. I'm gonna put my money on that one. So
no, I like to blame it in general. There are a couple things. First of all, any crowded event. It was a crowded event with a bunch of our friends in like nobody taking any precautions, of course. And then also, as has been shown way back when COVID was the thing, and we were all excited about it and talking about it every week. Excited. Yes, excited. It was.
We were probably despondent. I don't know about excited.
Well, one of the key events that started to show that in fact it was airborne and not through droplets or whatever was the singing. There was a choir event where there was a massive spread.
I remember that.
And just in general, singing events are one of the things that can make it go boom. Make it go boom.
Wop.
Did we wop bop boom? Yes. Anyway, no, it's so and look, this is one of the things where I had been seeing for weeks and weeks and weeks the handful of people who still bother and give a shit and post things about COVID, posting about how like wastewater levels of COVID in places that still monitor it are the highest they've been in over a year, and are super high levels, and test positivity levels where they are still reported, which is very few places, are also through the roof. And in basically most of the country is in a really hot COVID wave right now.
All right, but look,
yeah,
you have COVID. Listen, I know you guys have been like us, that we've been like every booster.
Yes,
that's come out.
But here, let me tell you, I tested positive for the first time about 24 hours ago as we're recording this.
I said you don't sound bad.
And at the moment I tested positive, I hadn't even noticed that I had any symptoms. I was like, I don't have any symptoms. And then my son tested first, like, because we made him go to a therapist appointment. We had checked our COVID tests. We had checked COVID tests Wednesday evening because we knew my wife had it and she'd been isolating. She'd been staying in her room, door closed, blah, 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 mostly closed. And and when I had to go into the room she was in, I wore a mask and blah, blah, blah. So she'd been isolated. But we were trying to decide whether to take my son to his weekly therapist appointment on Thursday evening. And so what we had told the therapist, we would check tests on Wednesday. And if we were both negative and we both had no symptoms, then we would go. And she agreed to that. And we tested Wednesday evening and no symptoms. And so we went on Thursday. And Alex was resisting going on Thursday, but he didn't want to go anyway. So, and he said he had a sore
It wasn't
throat.
because it wasn't because he was sick. He didn't want to go. Period. So whatever.
He didn't want to go. Period. He said he had a sore throat, but there wasn't anything we could tell. Like wasn't visible. So we went to the therapist thing. As soon as we got home, he grabbed himself a COVID test, and he took it. And then a few minutes later, he excitedly ran to us to show us that he was positive. He was so happy and thrilled that he was positive. And there were a couple reasons for this. One, he didn't have to isolate from his mother anymore. And two, it proved he was right. He was trying to tell us he didn't feel good, and we made him go anyway.
I will...
Yeah, but look, let me say that. I was saying, so I then immediately after that took one myself. I also tested positive. And this was also, what, by the way, you know how you're supposed to wait 15 minutes to see if you can see the little line on the test, blah, blah, blah. For both Alex and I and my wife a few days before that, the line was like nearly instant. Like I had a dark black band on the treatment line before the control line even showed up on the stupid test. Okay. It was like mere seconds and the darkest I've ever seen. And so, but at the time I didn't feel any like symptoms, but then of course, like within half an hour of the positive test, I'm like, okay, but wait, is my chest a little tight? You know, do I have a little bit of headache? You know, because psychosomatically, now that I've tested positive, I'm looking out for everything.
That doesn't help either. Yeah.
But by the time I woke up this morning, though, it felt like somebody was sitting on my head. You know, and so I'm all stuffy, congested, a little bit of a cough, you know, and from talking to my wife as well, like, you know, it took a few days for her symptoms to ramp up. My symptoms are still every few hours are worse than a few hours previously. So I'm still on the getting worse side of this as opposed to the getting better side of this. So we'll see. I also like this is only my second time testing positive for COVID. The first time I hardly ever felt anything. I felt maybe a few very mild symptoms, but I'm not sure. Like it was not bad.
But let's be fair about this. You got listen right now. You got your COVID booster. How long ago now?
Well, no, long enough. It doesn't matter anymore.
Exactly.
And also the current one. Like the last time I was at my doctor, I'm like, can I have the next one? And she's like, no. Current recommendation. You could have it now, but current recommendations are you wait. They're coming out with a new one in September.
Right.
That is effective against the current set of of variants, and the one that's out right now isn't really that effective against the one that's out right now, that's going around right now. And so she recommended I wait, so I waited, and of course I ended up with COVID. But my point though was
probably wouldn't have mattered.
Yeah, what I wanted to say though is that last time I just pushed through and I worked anyway. Like I was like, I'll work from home and it doesn't matter. I'll just continue to work. This time, two things. One, as soon as my wife had it, I told work, like, I'm not coming into the office. Like, I know you're doing this office thing. Like, I'm testing negative right now. I have no symptoms, but I could be a carrier because very often you are contagious before you notice the first symptoms, before you test positive. So I'm like, I'm exposed. I'm clearly in a situation where I'm exposed.
Here's the good thing about having to go to the office. You say you don't feel compelled to work.
Well, yeah, because here's what I did this time. Like this last time I pushed through. This time, first I said I'm not coming into the office, but I'll work from home. But I told my boss right at that moment, and we had a back and forth, and he sort of agreed. I'm like, look, if I test positive, I'm just peacing out. I'm like, I am going to I'm going to shut down the computer. I am not going to work. I am going to. I'm just going to try to rest as much as possible until I actually test negative again. And so like Thursday night, I tested positive. I got on the company Slack like an hour later and was like, "Yep, I got COVID. I'm out. Sorry. I know there were some things I intended to." Oh, hold on. Alex, you've disconnected me from something. Stop. Okay, hold on. And while I'm interrupted, I will.
Nope.
Okay. What the fuck was I saying? Okay. Can I still hear you?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
No.
Can you hear me?
I just muted you. Okay.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah. It's just I was trying to mute my wife.
I heard a little bit of an echo. No.
Yeah.
Okay, that's gone. Okay.
So like an hour later, I was like on the company Slack saying, "Nope, I got COVID. I'm checking out. I'll be back when I test negative again." And okay, fine, folks. I am doing this podcast. I've entered a few things on election graphs, but otherwise, I've been sitting on the damn couch. I've been lying down. Immediately before this podcast, I took a 2-hour nap. Like I am trying to stick with the rest, because there are a couple things, and I've taken my first dose of Paxlovid. Hold on. Okay. Okay. I've been trying to be good. I've been trying to basically relax, because at this point they've figured out, like, and I've taken my first Paxlovid. The whole family's on Paxlovid right now, but they figured out basically, like, amongst the other factors, trying to push through it generally makes it worse and increases your chances of long COVID stuff. So your recommended course of behavior is do as close to nothing as possible until you're past it. So that's my intention. So there you go.
So this wasn't your butt first.
Oh, oops. Yeah, no. I mean, I can save my movie for next week. It's Howard the Duck, Yvonne. It's finally
okay.
Howard
No. We got to talk about Howard the Duck. No. We can't skip that. No.
Should I roll right into Howard the Duck, or do you want to do something?
Please.
First?
No, please. How was it, Sam?
Okay, so Alex is trying to give me the timeline. He says, Daddy has COVID because first Mommy has COVID. Then Alex spends time with Mommy. Then Mommy tests positive for COVID. Then Daddy spends time with Alex. Then Daddy spends time with Mommy. No, dude, you knock out the microphone every time you do that. Hold on. The new way I'm editing, every time there's an interruption, I just note it, and so that I can. Okay. Daddy has COVID. Timeline. Mommy has COVID. Then Alex spends time with Mommy. Okay. Alex E, are you happy now? He writes down Alex E instead of Alex. Alex E spends time with Mommy. Mommy tests positive for COVID. Daddy spends time with Alex E. Doggy spends time with Mommy. Doggy has COVID. I have no evidence one way or another whether our dog has COVID. Doggy spends time with Daddy and Alex E. Mommy spends time with Caddy. Caddy has COVID. Daddy spends time with Caddy and Alex E. Alex E feels sick. Alex E indicates sick. Daddy says liar. Daddy spends time with Alex E. Daddy spends more time with Alex E. Alex E feels. And that's the end of the thing. Okay.
Wow.
Howard the Duck.
Howard the Duck. Sam, how was
the reason here's the thing.
Well,
like,
yeah.
You had mentioned on the show one week, we were talking bad movies, and you mentioned how awful Howard the Duck is.
Yes.
And then so I was going to add it to my list, but in fact, it was already somewhere on my list. And it just happened by pure coincidence. In the week after you had mentioned it on the show, I had rolled something about doing the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And as it turns out,
and I completely forgot that Howard the Duck was part of it. Yes.
It is Marvel. Yeah. And so I had, it came up and I watched it like a week later. And of course that was months ago. That was in March. But here's the deal. I didn't hate it.
You didn't hate it?
I'm not giving it, I'm going to go with the thumb sideways, not a thumbs up, but I did not hate it at all. I was amused by it. I found it like, okay. I like, and what's her name's in it? Like, Lee Thompson, right? Is that her name?
Yeah, Leah Thompson. Here's I think,
and I like her. She's,
okay. Here is the thing.
Funny.
I think that this may be a thing of expectations.
Okay.
I got to tell you why. Because when it came out, I think expectations were very high for that movie.
Okay.
And when you have this expectation, this thing is going to be awesome, and it's what Howard the Duck was, then I think you're like, oh, come on, what the fuck? Okay.
I mean, yeah.
And so I think that was part of it. And so I went and I set the expectations so low for you. That maybe because I literally saw it days later. Not, exactly. You're like, well, it's not the worst ever. Right. And so yeah, it's one of those things where I do think that when it came out, and I'm pretty sure I saw it at the theaters.
Okay.
I was just like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah, I mean, and look, I was mildly amused by it. Like, it was fine. It was okay. Like, there were moments that I thought were somewhat funny. Like I said, I'm a fan of Lee Thompson. I like like, she's cute. I like the things she does, the duck is not cute,
Duck is not cute. No,
not
at all. No, but not in the slightest.
But, it was fine. It was okay. And you may be right. There may be an expectation setting. There were probably a few WTF moments in this thing, but it just seemed like, okay, fine. It's a movie. It's, whatever. And I don't rush to rewatch anything, but I certainly wouldn't rush to rewatch this. But I saved the thumbs down for the things where throughout the whole movie, I'm like, oh my God, this is awful. I wish I was done. I wish I had never selected this. I forced myself to finish them rather than watching them. But that's a good way to put it. Like, I save thumbs down for ones that I have to.
You're like, fuck.
I have to force myself to finish it. I did not have to force myself to finish Howard the Duck. It was fine. It was entertaining. I had no problems with it. It had some good moments. Was it exceptional in any way, shape, or form? No, it was not exceptional in any way, shape, or form, but it was fine. It wasn't, and I wasn't screaming like, "Oh my God, please turn this thing off." So it gets a thumb sideways from me.
Okay, so that's better than I expected.
By comparison, the other one, which this will now be the third or fourth time it's been mentioned on the show, that you mentioned once and had me add to my list, and I watched, which did absolutely merit that thumbs down category, was Low Blow.
Oh yes, because you did watch Low Blow.
I did watch Low Blow.
Look, yes, and that movie definitely is way, way, way worse than Howard the Duck. I mean, I don't think that that cannot be argued.
Yeah,
I'm looking at Howard the Duck. Rotten Tomatoes gives it a 13%. It's got a IMDb of 4.7, which is quite low. as well. You know, but it's not low blow.
Right.
Low blow, if I remember correctly, scores way below that. It's got a 4.1 IMDb. For some reason, it's got a 21% Rotten Tomatoes. I just think that's got to be just people just, you know, just saying, wow, it's so bad that I'm just going to give it a thumbs up. But yeah, no, this thing is just, you know, no. A 4.1 IMDb rating is very hard to get. It has to be. Yeah. So yeah.
So Howard the Duck is a cinematic masterpiece compared to Low Blow.
Yes.
And
yes, absolutely. 100% agree. Yes.
Okay. Anyway, that was my movie for the week. You do you have a butt first of your own before we slip into real things?
I have a butt first of my own. What the fuck was I thinking about my butt first for my own? What have I been doing? I don't know.
You were gone for decades, like I said. And now you're fondling your microphone.
Yeah, I'm fondling the microphone. Well, the only thing I'll make an observation about is I posted a picture of my wife and son playing on the beach last week. And this hotel that I have been staying at is a hotel it's a resort, okay, but they have a very good corporate rate, so I've been staying at that hotel for work. And I had my wife and my son go with me last week to this hotel.
So wait, so the deal was you were doing something for work, and they just tagged along.
Well, the thing is, so we were supposed to go on vacation last week, but work interfered.
Okay.
And so what I said is, look, I got to go back to Puerto Rico, so why don't you guys just come with me? Okay. And so I brought them along. And the one thing is that they were playing on this beach. Now, the beach is in San Juan, and this is a north-facing beach that, unlike a whole bunch of beaches that are in the northern part of Puerto Rico, it's not in a bay. There isn't a reef to block off the waves. Okay. So you get some really, really big waves. And this beach, the last few years, has been the scene of a number of drownings by people not heeding the flags at the beach. Okay. Almost every day I've been there, a red flag was up. Basically, red flag, don't go in the fucking water. This beach is public in large part because all the beaches in Puerto Rico are public. You can't really block access to any of the beaches.
Okay, right.
In Puerto Rico. So there aren't lifeguards posted. And people have argued, it's like, why the hell?
Why don't you?
Yeah. But there's been a number of people that have died. I did post a picture, and a friend of mine was like saying, hey, you know that beach is bad. I'm like, listen, my son doesn't even go. My son will play like at the edge of the water, but he doesn't like to go in swimming and like get himself inside the water. So he doesn't go in there. He prefers to go on the thing. So and then the other day, the weather was exceptionally bad. So on top of the red flag, I saw that the hotel posted another flag on the beach itself, like right at the shore, with some skull and crossbones on it, red, basically trying to warn people not to go into the water. And as I see this, some tourist clowns went in and were jumping into the water at these waves. And I just don't understand these fucking people. I'm just like, guys, look at the fucking waves. What the fuck are you doing? I mean, it's not. It's nice to sit like by the water. It's nice to maybe get wet a little bit, but when you have the fucking red flag stuck right there with the skull and crossbones at the entrance of the beach, why are you going into the water? Why? What's wrong with you?
Yeah. It's like those people you always get the video of the people like surfing because the hurricane's coming and stuff like that.
Yeah. There was, I'll tell you what, there was one that I'll never forget. You know, the kiteboard thing kind of thing. You know, they go with a kite. They go.
Yeah.
They're like they've got this kite. It looks like a parachute. It's dragging them, and they're on a board.
Right.
I saw this guy on a hurricane approaching Fort Lauderdale that did this, and they were recording on video. And the wind dragged them towards a couple of cement walls and slammed them on live video into a wall. Either he died, or let's just say he had almost every bone in his body broken. Beautiful. And I'm just like, you idiots. What do you think was going to happen? A 70-mile-an-hour gust endures a whole bunch of concrete over there. Where are you going to land softly? I don't know. Anyway,
no airbags.
No airbags. No. Yeah, that guy really. I do think he survived, but let's just say it wasn't. Wasn't easily. Speaking of airbags, that you mentioned this, I only saw this recently. I'm seeing these people like competing in like motorcycle competitions.
Right. With the motorcycle airbag things.
Yeah. Have you seen it's like a suit that they wear. And apparently when I didn't realize this until recently that if they get launched off the thing, that the thing
it
pops,
triggers. Yeah.
Yeah, it triggers these airbags on the body. That's pretty fucking cool.
I have seen like some sort of like video showing how it works, that like there's a cord that attaches between their suit and the motorcycle, and if it gets snapped, which like happens if they get pulled more than like a foot and a half away from the motorcycle, 2 feet, whatever it is, it triggers the airbag, and it's like, I don't know, milliseconds for the thing to expand, just like a regular airbag. I also remember sharing with somebody, they've prototyped the same kind of technology for the elderly that just detects a fall.
Sure.
They wear the suit, and it detects if they trip or fall, and poof, before they hit the ground.
Fuck, that's a great idea, actually.
You know,
so it'd be kind of funny to trigger it on them on purpose too.
Well, if you Google it, and I forget what it's called, I'm sorry, but you know, here I'll.
When you're old, I'll visit Sam with a suit, and all of a sudden, I'll just fucking trigger the damn thing. Sam's like the Michelin Man all of a sudden.
Well, yeah, and it's like that. The YouTube video. Okay, now I have to find this for you now. Let's see. I'll either find it quickly here. There we go. Let's see. Yeah, I want the YouTube video. Okay.
Yeah.
Here we go. I won't play the video. Okay. This is from 9 years ago. Let's see. Is this the video I'm thinking of? Yes, it is. It is, absolutely. So if you search YouTube for wearable airbag protects elderly from falls, you will get a nice little 5-minute demo video from 9 years ago from some company that was trying to do this. I haven't seen much more about it, and it was 9 years ago, so maybe their company didn't succeed. But it's got some videos of some guy testing it out.
Okay, I just saw that Amazon has.
Oh, okay. They have for sale.
Airbag, unisex, elderly, anti-fall airbag vest, wearable airbag, smart vest for seniors.
I guess they have production.
Not that bad. $999.
Okay,
it's not that bad. if you get one of those at a discount from work, okay, as well, I make sure that when you're older,
our discount isn't that good.
So. I know. It's like it's like any of the discounts I've ever had from work. They've never been that good, but I'll make sure to just trigger it for the hell of it. Like, when I'm visiting you.
Yeah, where
yeah.
Well, the thing is, anyway, if you search for this video, they've got a volunteer testing out the thing, falling. You get to see it. It's funny.
Yeah. They've got some pictures here of the guy and stuff and everything. Yeah, this is, they should get this for my dad.
And you got to think though, like, have they fully perfected the technology, or is this thing going to go off in your face when you're not falling? Because that would probably be bad.
Well, as long as it doesn't hurt you. I mean, it's just, as long as it's just,
Well, I mean, regular car airbags, for instance, do potentially do some damage to you. It's less damage than not having it. Correct. So you don't want the airbag in your car going off.
It might like to see your nose or something or whatever, but it's not so yeah, but can I say that the only corporate discount that I've ever had for a job that ever was any good, okay, was the one that involved working as a travel agent.
Okay.
Those discounts back then, and I know that they're not as good now, where, man, there were 75% off, airfare. In some cases, I got with one airline, I remember that I got absolutely free travel, which it was basically, there was a small carrier that flew between San Juan and some small islands of the Caribbean around there. And if I showed up and there were empty seats, I showed my travel agent ID, which I had an official travel agent ID from the International Airline Transportation Association with that, and my ID, they would, if there was an empty seat, they would let me get on for free.
Okay.
And but back then, invariably, there were always almost empty seats. The load factor on a typical flight was 60 some odd percent. I mean, the chances of the only days you wouldn't get a seat like that was like Thanksgiving weekend or something like that. But any other day, mundane day, you would get on a there was always an empty seat. It's stunning to me, like right now, how almost every flight I get on that I got on the last few weeks was 100% full. Not one empty seat. And that just, I mean, that did not happen before. It's crazy how that's changed in the industry. But anyway, all right. So we're done. But first, the hell. Okay.
But first is all done.
It's firsted. Seconded.
It's
thirded.
Firsted. The next up, then we are going to take a break, and it is an Apple Dream. So I saved this from last week. It would have otherwise been last week. I will warn you, this one's a couple minutes long, like 3 minutes long, but it's an Apple Dream. So we'll see if Yvonne has any reactions to this one, and then when we get back from the Apple Dream, it'll be Yvonne's turn to pick stuff.
Light it up, baby.
Because I've got the whole COVID brain fog thing going on. Can't.
Oh yeah. Go and just sit. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Whatever. Excuses.
Here you go. Apple Dream. Coming.
I was in a foreign country. I'm not sure which one. I was at some place eating. I was with a group. There was a woman with the group that I knew, and I didn't know the rest of the people. And I don't know. The person seemed very familiar, but I can't quite place them. It was not Clara from Doctor Who, but it looked kind of like her. In any case, I had cashed out. Well, I know it was time to pay, and they told me they couldn't take my my U.S. credit card. And so I was like, what do I do? Because I hadn't cashed out to any of the local currency, because of course I hadn't. And I asked if they took any of the common electronic payment apps. Like, can I use Cash App? Can I use Venmo? Can I use whatever? And they're like, no, but we take this. And it was like someone I'd never heard of. And I was like, okay, I'll install it and get it set up. But I couldn't get the internet to work on my phone, except my phone wasn't a phone. It was like a stick of gum. Well, an electronic device the shape and size of a stick of gum. But I couldn't get internet on it. And so the woman who was with me was like, I have cash. I'm like, can I just use one of these apps to give you the money? And she's like, she hadn't used any of them before either. But I was like, I'll help you. It's easy. I can set you up with one of them, or I can help you get set up with one of them. And she's like, okay, whatever. And I look at the bill and I try to figure it out. And apparently I was at a Starbucks. I mean, it didn't seem like it was a Starbucks before, but the receipt had like Starbucks stuff on it. And at first I couldn't tell which one was the total, because like there were lines for like how many Starbucks points I had and stuff on the receipt, and I didn't, but then I finally figured out which one, and I owed like 126 of the local currency or whatever. And the woman who was with me paid. And then we were getting ready to go. And I was going to talk to her more about how I pay her back. And there was more, like we were going to go somewhere, but it was somewhere specific with the whole group, not just with her. And there was stuff that happened before we stopped to eat. Like there were more people with us, and there was stuff going on that we were doing, and we just stopped for a snack or whatever. But the only thing I can remember now is the stop for the snack and the paying part, and not being able to pay because they didn't take cards and I had no cash, and they didn't take the apps. But the person with me could pay, but now I had to pay her back. Yeah. Then I woke up. Bye.
And that's it.
You know, yesterday,
Yes.
my wife was trying to send money to one of her relatives in Colombia. And they just went through what you were describing. Hey, can I Venmo it to you? No. Can I send it through Apple Cash? No. Can I to PayPal? No. I've never been able to get it to work. We're going through this exact same thing. And then she says, hey, I got this app. It's called Wise. I used it to send money. I'm like, fuck, you ever heard of Wise? I never heard of Wise. No. So I'm using that one. And I went through the thing. So I went to install. I had to go and install it on her phone and figure it out or whatever. And like get it to work in order to. First, I've been trying to check on her iPhone whether they have Apple Cash in Colombia. And I guess they don't. Okay.
Okay.
So, but we installed the Wise and then I connected it. I saw that you could add the money through Apple Pay to it. Okay. You had to load it and you had to check your ID and all of this stuff or whatever. The interesting thing about it is that I'm going to send it, but there were fees involved with sending the money. Okay.
Right. Okay.
It wasn't feeless. But at first we were trying to just send $14, not a big amount. But at first, it wanted to charge me.
It almost seems at this point like, is it even worth it for $14? You know, it's like,
you know what? She was trying to buy something for her cousin. She wanted to send the money.
Okay.
She wanted to make the point of paying for the fucking $14. Okay, and so But first,
it wasn't $14 to you. It was you were paying $14.
Yeah. Right. And so, and then at first they wanted to charge $5. Said $14. I'm like, $5 to pay $14. This is idiotic. But as I went and I kept doing more setup on the app, it dropped the fee down to $1. Somehow.
Okay. Yeah.
So I was like, okay, $1. If I'm setting 14, I'm going to charge $1. I'm like, okay, fine, $1. Okay, we could do the $1. But I had to wind up basically, I had to went through the same problem that your Apple Dream had just yesterday.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
So,
apparently a real problem.
And then today I tried to pay this check at this restaurant that we went to, and they have, have you seen the now they've got the thing here, receipt. There's a QR code on it you can scan and pay at some places.
Okay.
There are certain restaurants that have that. You can just go.
I think I've encountered that once. Yeah.
So you can just go. You don't have to whatever. Just scan the QR code. Boom, 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 and you pay right there. No, you don't have to do anything else. And so this restaurant had it. I'm like, I'll just pay with a QR code. Well, I don't know what problem they had. It kept declining the transaction. It kept saying gateway doesn't work. I actually got even transaction declines on my Apple Pay. And I'm like, what the hell? The transaction declines? This doesn't make any sense. So I have to give the guy the card. They run it. It comes back. He brings me the little folder with the thing, with the credit card. But we had to wait a while because it was a lot of people. And I didn't bring back my card. The card's not in there. And I'm like, okay, dude. The card's not in there. And he's saying, no, yes, it is. No, it's not. Damn it. You brought 6 folders to the table, all the bad cards except mine. I'm going through every fucking folder, going through it, looking through the floor. Get the matter, guys, where the fuck is my credit card? You guys, you just ran it and I didn't bring it back. I need my fucking card back. Restaurants, they keep the lights dim. They have to they turned on all the lights in the fucking restaurant. The guy had gone, after he ran it, he was running multiple cards. He has set it on top of the printer on the machine. My card was black. The printer's black.
Gotcha.
He didn't see that it was like sitting right there.
Nice. But
so anyway, they found it. Yeah. But anyway, all right.
Okay,
so
new stuff. Yeah, your choice, your body, your choice. You pick what we're going to talk about.
Body, my choice. What am I having sex on this show now? Okay.
Not usually. That there are many aspects to this show, but that is not.
Well, listen. Yesterday, I was trying to go through this with my wife and her online. Seeing on the this thing about. Do you realize that all these people like to just log into like AA meetings online and expose themselves and masturbate online for the hell of it, and that they have to keep kicking them out all the time? At least the guys think this is funny.
I have not heard this about AA meetings.
Constantly. It is ridiculous. I don't understand what's wrong with these fucking twisted fucks.
Because I guess they publicly post the login information to it because anybody is welcome, blah, blah, blah. And then random folks do that. I mean, I've heard of like web apps where that happens, where like these chat roulette things and stuff like that, where the people who like participate in them just assume that like 1 out of 10 because the concept of some of these apps is you get connected with random people for video chats, which okay,
but you're playing Russian roulette with that. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and then apparently a certain percentage of the time you just expect are going to be people doing things that maybe you
don't want. Okay, at that point.
Although if the ratio is that high, I suppose the people participating actually do want that.
I guess, yeah. They must know. I mean, you're obviously trying to find one of these, for God's sake. So anyway,
but the AA is different. That is not like
that's. I mean, these fucking.
That's people, not what you're there for.
No. So let's see. I'm going through here. I'll talk a little bit about something that you probably wouldn't bring up at this moment. So this week we got new inflation data.
Oh, you're going to do economy stuff. Okay, go for it.
Some economy stuff because there's been a whole bunch of economy stuff. Last week we had this, like everybody for some reason, there was the Japanese stock market had like tanked. I'm trying to remember exactly the main reason.
There was a day where, and I remember it was over the weekend.
It was like about a couple of weeks ago.
We were coming in like it was Sunday night, and we started getting all these alerts that Japan was going crazy. It was crashing. It would be horrible. The futures for the U.S. markets were way down. Europe was having issues too, and the Japanese markets actually had like a really huge one-day crash. It was not a great day in the U.S. either, but then things seem to have popped back pretty quickly. But what was going on? Fears of this, and there was going to be a recession after all, and blah 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 blah.
The whole thing with Japan had to do with this yen carry trade that's been going on for a long time. Okay, what's happened is that the yen has been cheap and gotten cheaper. I mean, we've talked about it on the Slack. Okay, one of our listeners, Pete, was talking about going to Japan. Went on a trip to Japan, and we were talking about how the yen.
He actually was on the show talking about that trip right after he got back.
It was. I mean, the yen had dropped from. I remember when I worked for a Japanese company for many years, and we were always very concerned about the yen dollar exchange rate in large part because the Japanese companies, unlike most American companies, still have not as diversified in terms of their manufacturing base, even though they are diversified, not like it used to be. There was 100% Japanese 100% Japanese manufacturing. They do manufacturing in China, whatever, but still they have a bigger concentration of exposure to the yen than I would say that almost any American multinational or even European multinational, in my experience. Okay. And so when the yen got very strong, it really did impact our pricing and sales. And we were always very concerned about that. And we were actually talking our meetings how, well, if the yen gets to this level or whatever, to 80, we're talking about at that point, that would be pretty painful, blah, 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 whatever, and so forth right now. So the yen right now, I'm talking about 80. This was like about 12, 13 years ago. We're talking about a yen that was about 160, like right now. Okay. It's a massive devaluation of the yen. It's made everything in Japan stupidly cheap compared to how it used to be. But it seemed that there had been a big swing in yen dollar in the opposite direction about a couple of weeks ago. And the thing is that a lot of people they do a lot of trading. They borrow in yen because the interest rates in Japan have been so low. They will go and they'll borrow in yen at almost 0%, and then do investments in dollars. They do this trade that depends on where the currencies are. And somewhere earlier this month, like around there was in the last couple of months, there was a big shift in the yen. Okay. We had one that it went from when it was at 160, it dropped really quickly down to 144. Okay. So it's a very quick shift. Okay. And apparently a lot of that stock trading was related to unwinding a whole bunch of positions that were very exposed to that currency shift. And that's why all of a sudden it had nothing to, we're talking about where's a recession, economics, or whatever. No, it's because so many people have plowed so much money into this yen carry trade that when the fucking yen went, like it was at at the end of July, it was like 160 and it dropped all of a sudden to 144. It fucking caught people off guard because that was a huge shift in a very short amount of time. And it went and it spooked people, and then all of a sudden people were dumping the stocks because people will do these moves. So they were borrow the money, purchase the stocks, so then take those, margin those, purchase other assets. So you've got this sequence of assets, and if all of a sudden one of them moves in a direction you don't want, it winds up unraveling the trade. So you have to go and sell. Oh shit! Damn it! I borrowed that money over there. Now I gotta pay that money back. So I gotta sell the shares, and then I gotta go sell those shares, and then give that money back. The money back that I borrowed in yen. There's this entire sequence of how the assets have been tied, and so that's what happened there in Japan. Obviously, everybody sees that huge sell-off. People freaked out, and it sparked other sell-offs at the same time. But it had nothing to do with the economic data. It really had more to do with that sudden move in the yen and how it impacted how people trade in the yen, borrow, and invest in other places because of the ultra low interest rates that Japan has had for a long time. And that's all it really was related to.
Because at the time it was happening, all the coverage was frankly not around Japan specific stuff.
No.
It was like what's happening in Japan is a warning for the rest of the world, and everything else is going to go and blah, 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 blah.
And then 1 week later, nothing happened. No, it had nothing to do with any of that.
And so, yeah, like everything bounced right back.
Well, because, the sell-off happened. I mean, people took the losses, paid back, whatever. I mean, there is a situation right now where at this point, there is still a record amount of people that are holding cash. Cash holdings are ridiculous levels all around.
Okay.
One of the reasons why people have been holding more cash recently is because interest rates have been high. Okay, so you'll hold cash and invest it and get 5-6%. Versus how it used to be like 10 years ago, where if you had cash or if you were gaining 0.5% or 1%, you were lucky. So there's been a lot more of a return on cash with higher interest rates. But if you want a higher return, the only place that you can turn to is to stocks. I mean, that really is. You have to go into stocks, because even bonds. Now, bonds are probably going to have a rally with interest rates going down. But you're in an environment right now where interest rates are high, unemployment is still at good levels, economic activity is still at good levels. All the economic data that we've had has been solid. Consumer spending in July was robust.
Now, there was that one jobs report that freaked people out because,
but then because it was slightly above, but at the same time, because they thought, well, that's a signal that maybe spending is bad or profits are not going to be good by companies. But companies have reported good profits. Still, the number of unemployment number, it came in like maybe off by 10,000, but then there were a whole bunch of adjustments that showed the numbers are about in line with what everybody expected. But then you also had this inflation number that showed that inflation is continuing to come down. But the one thing is that all of this points to the fact that the Fed will lower interest rates.
Mm-hmm.
And if the Fed lowers interest rates, what people are going to do is borrow more money and invest, because you could make more money with lower rates if you borrow money. It's as simple as that. Look, if you lower rates right now in this economy, which has been doing good, you get a drop in the mortgage rate right now from 6.5 back to like 4.5. There is so much pent up demand for people to buy homes that have been holding off because rates are too high. Buying automobiles. You think about companies borrowing money and investing. You do that kind of a rate drop, it's going to drive the economy. And rates dropping means that those people with cash, what are they going to want to do with the money? They're going to want to buy more stocks. They're going to want to invest. They don't want to be sitting on fucking cash, earning and losing, going from 5% earnings to 2.5%. all of a sudden your return is down 50%. No, they're going to want to move the money into some other assets that make more money. So I think that it was kind of what happened with that stock market drop is that people didn't understand what the hell it was, and they were trying to say, oh, it's a signal of this, that, or whatever. Then all the economic data came in and said, nah, it's none of that shit. So because it was none of that shit, then people are like, oh, okay, well, never mind.
And then off to the races again.
Yeah, basically. Because the economy has been doing really well. The one thing that we've had the last couple of years has been a lot of investment in America in a lot of things that are creating jobs and that are creating things that have long-term returns on that investment. When you fix up bridges, when you're putting all this money towards Inflation Reduction Act money, towards renewable energy projects, when you're doing all this stuff for the CHIPS Act, okay, all that chips manufacturing, all those things have big multiplier effects in the economy. And the one thing about those is that they're not like one-time hits. Because you build a factory that you spent $500 million, that factory then is going to employ thousands of people. Then that's going to have an effect. It's not like, hey, I just gave people $1,000 to spend it on alcohol. No, yeah, that has an effect one time. You took a vacation, you're done. No, we're talking about money is being invested, that's creating manufacturing jobs, and that's going to create permanent jobs that then has an effect all around, multiplier around those communities. We talk about infrastructure and the effect it has on long-term on economies and how it allows certain places to have progress. You remember when we had that ship that hit that bridge in Baltimore?
Yes, of course.
And how big of a negative economic impact it has when you cut off a bridge, when you don't have that access. But when you invest in infrastructure and then all of a sudden goods can flow free, or people can go and say, hey, I'm going to put my wheat in the farm and I can bring it to market faster. It allows me to be able to sell more. That means that I'm going to be able to take advantage of economic opportunity. It's a multiplier effect, all these damn things. This is very different economics than from trickle-down economics. Trickle-down economics is this thing where we just, hey, you're rich, we're going to let you make more money. Well, rich guy X, for the most part, what they do, I mean, how many fucking yachts can they buy? As well as Gordon Gekko, as Charlie Sheen told Gordon Gekko in Wall Street. I mean, they're not going to invest it for the most part. You already got $100 billion. You got 120 billion. A lot of these people just sit on the money, but when you push it in the other direction, it has sustained economic impact. It's the reason why you've gotten from the Trump tax cuts 2018. They showed very little economic impact, almost none. These things that have happened the last couple of years with the Biden administration have been very targeted into specific things that will provide long-term returns that have provided, for example, you're looking at the best wage gains that lower and middle income people have had in the last 20, 30 years.
Mm-hmm.
And it's also done that the economy, even after having this spike from some of the cash that people had in their pockets because their balance sheets are healthier and all this other stuff, it's provided right now that everybody's like, well, we thought we were going to go into a recession, and people are now looking at it more. It's like, well, apparently not, because the one great thing that the Fed has done is that by keeping rates high and not having to resort to like things like quantitative easing and other things, which means that they're putting money in the economy, but that didn't have a direct effect on people's pocketbooks. What you've got right now is that, hey, I drop half a point right now on quarter point or half a point on the Fed funds rate. Credit card rates are going down. Home equity loan rates are going down. Mortgage rates are going down. All these things. These are all things that every American will have money in their pocket immediately. And those tools right now are readily available at the Fed to act right now, especially now that they're seeing that inflation is coming under control.
Back to quote unquote normal.
Getting back to close to normal. Yeah.
In the latest update, it was under 3% again, which was back roughly where it was before pandemic, right?
Yeah, getting close to that. Yes, and I think that a lot of people that were like poo-pooing this whole thing about transitory effects and whatnot, and many people on TV talking out of their ass. And I notice now that a lot of those people aren't even showing up on TV anymore right now. One of the things is like, this Fed thing saying the transitory is bullshit. Look, one of the things that there were a whole bunch of transitory effects, and everybody keeps forgetting that all of a sudden we had a fucking Putin start a goddamn war.
Well, yeah, but the fundamental problem with that was just like wording and expectation setting, right? Like when you say transitory, people the expectation that comes to a normal person, or not even, people are thinking weeks.
Yeah. No, it's not that things don't happen that fast in a supply chain economy. It doesn't move that fast, and especially not when you get exogenous shock like a fucking war that spikes energy prices too.
Well, and I'd love to hear how long they were really thinking when they said the word transitory, but like I
think it was more like a 2-year window because that is how long it took for supply. Listen. It's just in my head, but when you look at
here's the thing, like if they were thinking 2 years, the word transitory should never have come out of their fucking mouth. Well, that's not how people interpret the word.
Well, maybe
you know what I mean. Here's the thing. I mean, to some degree, everything is transitory. No,
because there's structural changes and there's transitory changes. Okay.
Yes. No.
The whole point about saying transitory is that what happened with the pandemic was not a structural change.
Right. Well, and again, that like there were better ways to say that, right? Like I understand what you're getting at. Like this is the kind of change that will eventually revert to the previous state is one thing. Saying transitory implies it's going to be short. And so like they just screwed themselves with the terminology. The reason is that like, you may be quite right that from an expert point of view, everybody who heard that was clear that, transitory just means not permanent.
Right.
And
it's not a structural change. It's not like, hey, all of a sudden the port capacity in the West Coast got reduced by 50%. That, permanently, and we're not going to recover for 20 years. And we have no plans of increasing it. That's not transitory. But a spike in shipping rates, for example, that happened, that went from like 2,000 a container from China to 20 to 30,000 a container from China. That was for a year. The following year, by the end of the second year, it was back to $2,000-$3,000. Okay, right. And so and those are the things that I'm talking about. But I do think, by the way, that the thing about the window is, and what really got more messed up about the transitory thing, it is the stupid war.
Right. Okay.
People don't,
like, they weren't counting on that. They were like, okay, pandemic, we factored that in, but they did not factor in, let's have a new war.
Exactly. And I'm telling you that damn war exacerbated the effects of inflation and spiked them for another 18 to 20 months. Okay. And right when they were right when everything was trailing off, really, those levels of inflation that we're getting now should have been here in about 2022. But when you've had that massive spike in energy prices all of a sudden, and also supply constraints with food, because you got to remember that the war not just constrained energy, but wheat production, wheat exports from the Ukraine. One of the biggest exports of wheat. Those were shut down when the war started. So it had an effect on energy, and it had an effect on food, and it was a massive effect. Right when, we thought everything's going, and then you get fucking Putin start a war, and I'm like, fuck this shit. Well, so yeah, it really delayed everything substantially, and I think that if you look at where everything was trending before the war, we would have gotten there earlier, but that just impacted everything. I mean, it's impacted. I mean, that stupid war. It's impacted air travel, a whole bunch of commerce that in terms of shipping, and food prices, energy prices, so many things at the same time. Now, one thing that people like right now are also, they keep getting worried about companies reporting pullbacks in spending in certain areas. And they're like, whoa, what's happening? Why is this company all of a sudden saying demand is down 5%, but the economy's not down? We also had a whole bunch of really weird shifts the last couple of years between how people allocated their spending between services and goods. Okay. You had this massive shutdown of services that all of a sudden spiked in a ridiculous way goods purchases. I mean, factories that did refrigerators, washing machines, all this other stuff, whatever, could not keep up to the demand. I mean, computers, like other stuff and whatever. And then a whole bunch of that then started coming back down to a certain extent. But you're seeing people right now also that were spending a lot of money on like travel and experiences, all of a sudden shifting this money again to some other stuff. And so what you're seeing is it's not that the economy is going down, it's that people have done some really, really sharp shifts that normally don't happen in recent, in the economy, where they moved from goods. All of a sudden, the goods demands soared. Then they dropped. Then they moved to, oh shit, we're traveling like there's no tomorrow. And then all of a sudden, oh well, we've traveled way too much. Okay, and we went to too many fucking fat restaurants. Let's cut back at that. Let's spend on something else, whatever the fuck it is. Let's save some money. Even Home Depot is seeing some stuff, but you see that the overall spending in the economy isn't going down. But also people are shifting money where, well, we spent so much money on the vacation, so let's not shop at the more expensive place. Let's go back to Walmart. Okay. Right. Which Walmart had seen, softening demand, and all of a sudden Walmart reported gangbuster results. Because they're like, the shifts that have been going on, Sam, it's shifts in spending that in 4 or 5 years that maybe you see normally over 15, 20 years, all of a sudden happen like in a very, very compressed time frame. And so I think that's also, that data is throwing people off when they're seeing that. And all of a sudden you see McDonald's say sales are down 5%, but then you see casual restaurant spending is actually up.
Right.
As an aggregate. So you're like, okay, so what's going on? Where's this shift going? So
I saw someone describe that as just like, McDonald's prices went up enough that when people who are otherwise considering McDonald's would be like, well, if we're going to spend this much anyway, why don't we go somewhere nicer?
We're going to a nicer place. Exactly. That was the one thing. It's like, what the hell? I mean, what the fuck? If I'm going to pay $14 at fucking McDonald's, then I might just go $14 and go to fucking Chili's.
Right.
I mean, yeah. And so I think that has been a big, and that's been, I'm telling you, those are the kind of crazy shifts that you're seeing people making, and that sometimes what's happening is that people see the results that one company is reporting and they think, oh my God, people are not buying. No. People have been reconsidering their purchasing in a crazy way like we've never seen the likes of before.
Okay. So bottom line, economy is still doing great. And people are starting to finally notice it, maybe?
Yes. And not just that I think people are feeling better because inflation's going down. But not just that, but that the good news is that we're well positioned to maintain momentum in the economy because the Fed has the tools to be able to help people with lower interest rates.
Okay. Now, as will surprise absolutely no one, when we switch to my topic, I'm going to be talking politics. Do we have enough time left that anything the Fed does actually will impact what people feel before November?
Yes. I will tell you that because the Fed cut rate they're expecting that the Fed will cut rates in September. Right now, just the expectation of that has created a surge in mortgage refis of over 100% of where we were about a month ago. Okay. That Fed rate cut will spur that even more. And
so this isn't something where, the average voter will feel a difference in 6 to 9 months. You think they'll actually feel
they're going to see all of a sudden,
right,
oh wait, oh that's more affordable. Oh wait, oh my credit card payment went down. Oh wait, yeah, that's going to be an immediate effect.
Okay. Now, even when people are affected immediately, sometimes it takes a while for them to notice that they're affected, and to internalize, oh yeah, something actually changed.
I think that, my experience has been that interest rates, especially when mortgage rates go down and credit card rates go down, that gets noticed really quick.
Okay.
A lot faster than other things.
So you think this will actually just be additional positive tailwinds for the Democrats coming into November?
Oh, hell yeah. Okay. Yeah.
As opposed to like a few weeks ago when people were like, oh shit, recession.
No, you're not going to get a recession. No. Okay. Fed's cutting rates next month. Not going to get a recession. Yeah, not happening. All right. Now.
Okay. Anything else you want to sum up, or can we take a break and move on?
We can take a break and move on.
Okay. Here we go.
You're supposed to say do. Do. Alex Amzela! Alex Amzela is awesome. Its videos are fun. And today, once again, we have one of our most loyal subscribers here to tell you how awesome Alex Amzela is.
I'd say on a rate from 1 to 10, Alex Amzela is awesome at, 37, 82. He's pretty radical. His videos are phenomenal. They're full of creativity. And
they're so funny and exciting to watch.
Wow, what happened to your voice then, Amy? Was that Dad pretending to be you? Because the audio was distorted when it really wasn't? Because I told him to?
Yes!
Good job on remembering, Dad. Do.
Okay, we're back. This segment will be politics in general, but as will become more and more common as we are getting really close to the end here, I will start out with an election graphs update. So last week I talked about it, how we'd had this big move towards Harris after Biden dropped out, but then we had a little bit of a bump up back towards Trump, and that's where we were, I think, last week. Maybe it started to reverse again. This last week, things have been moving back towards Harris again. So that little bump back towards Trump, which frankly was only really in Pennsylvania. And maybe it was just a coincidence with what pollsters were in the feed in the field in Pennsylvania. Like everywhere else has continued to move towards Harris, and Pennsylvania has started to move back towards Harris again. So over the last couple weeks, we now have Harris firmly in the lead. In the lead in the national polls, in the lead when you look at state polls, like I do on electiongraphs.com as well. That lead is still narrow, but about 1% in the tipping point state right now, which is close enough that, like, hey, the polls in 2016 and 2020 were off by more than 1%, underestimating the Republicans in the last 2 cycles. So if they do that again, Harris being leading in the critical states by about 1% isn't enough. She might still lose. So, like, no room for complacency yet. But things have been continuing to move in the Harris direction. They were really rapid right after Biden dropped out. It's been moving less quickly since then, but still moving generally in the Harris direction. I think
the important thing is it's been a consistent movement.
Yes.
It hasn't stopped. It's not like, it
hasn't stopped yet.
No.
We've gotten, all of the states that were sort of, the critical Michigan, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, at the moment Biden dropped out, even if you looked at Harris averages, but certainly for Joe Biden, we're all on the Trump side of the line. Now they are all on the Harris side of the line. Other states, Arizona, in my poll average, is now just barely on the blue side of the line. Nevada is very close on the Trump side. It's only a 0.2% Trump lead at the moment. It had actually been blue for a little bit, moved back with the latest poll. Georgia is close again. North Carolina is close again. And even like states like Florida, they're not close in my poll averages yet, but they're not as red as they were a month ago. And so we're seeing that kind of movement everywhere. It is still continuing. It does not seem to have bottomed out quite yet. And in a few days, we've got the DNC starting. And a few days after that, we've got like Trump legal shit happening. So like, I feel like we're probably not at the bottom yet. Like, I will fully admit that bump of polls back towards Trump had me doubting for a little while, but then a whole bunch more polls came in that got reversed again. And we're still like heading towards Harris, and she's running on all cylinders and seems to be doing everything great. Whereas Trump seems to be flailing still. And Trump, we'll talk about that in a second. One more thing I want to say about the current polling before we move on to that. This is one of those, oh my God, that will never happen things, but I just want to say it, at the current configuration of where all the states are lined up in my poll averages, the chances of a 269 to 269 tie are higher than I have seen them in a long time. This is because basically, if you take all of the states that right now Harris is ahead in the polls, except Arizona, where she's only ahead by 0.2% at the moment, give Arizona back to Trump, you end up in a 269 tie. My odds, depending on which of the models, range between a 1.7% chance of the tie to a 9.1% chance of the tie. That is like annoyingly high, because that would take you into the House of Representatives has to decide scenario, and it would be the new House of Representatives, not the current House of Representatives. So that might change balance. However, it's not the House voting as a whole. It's a House voting by state delegations,
right,
which is Republican dominated right now. And even if the Democrats take the House back, it is quite likely that the Republicans will still dominate in terms of state delegations in the House. And so the ties are pretty much still probably Trump wins. But anyway, you have Harris ahead in the straight, if you trust polls, in the stats I do that take into account the poll errors in the previous few elections and the amount of time left. You now, for the first time this week, have Harris's odds of winning greater than Trump's. At the moment, I have Harris at 46.8%, Trump at 44%. But, and this is in the uniform swing mode, which I think is the closest of my models to what's probably true. And, but you have that 9.1% that throws it into the House. and that would still get
that would
Trump
be
probably.
interesting.
So, just a tad. You think January 6th was fun? Do January 6th. They certify the electoral results, but then there's no winner, and then it has to go into the House and start this kind of stuff. But of course, the way it works also, by the way, just to play out House of Cards / West Wing scenarios for a second, the House determines the president, but the Senate determines the vice president. So you have potential scenarios where you could get like, Trump is president, but Walz is vice president. Things like that.
Oh, God. Crazy.
Anyway,
Christ's sakes.
The bottom line is polls are still going great for Harris. I will add everything I just said. I mentioned I took a 2-hour nap right before recording the podcast. There are several new polls that came in during those 2 hours that I haven't entered yet, including one for Pennsylvania, which is still one of the tipping. The whole tie scenario is because the tipping point right now is actually not a single tipping point. It's between Pennsylvania and Arizona. Like for Harris to win, she has to win all the states up through Pennsylvania plus Arizona. For Trump to win, he has to win everything up through Arizona plus Pennsylvania. So the tipping point is actually in between. But I did take a quick look at those Pennsylvania polls. I think they make it even better for Harris again. I could have done the math wrong in my head, but I'll be entering those soon. And by the time you listen to this, there'll probably be even more polls. They're coming out all the time. So anyway, that's it for the polling update. You had started to mention, Yvonne, and we talked about it, or I talked about it a little bit last week, but I'd love to get your take on the Donald Trump flailing that we have seen the last couple weeks, because I think it's just getting worse. Like he's not figuring out the right way to attack Harris and going after it. At least not yet.
I listen. I think it's a lot more basic. Okay, this is more existential, Sam.
You think he's lost it?
Well, it lost it because, look, he knew his only ticket out of jail was to win this fucking election.
Right.
Okay, and he started getting comfortable that maybe he was going to win. Okay.
Oh, he was sure he was going to win. When we
he
hit
was. He was.
It wasn't just comfortable. It was like the thought of losing wasn't even in his mind anymore.
Right. He hit the convention and he, was deluding himself into this is done.
Yeah,
I won. I'm done. This is going to be easy street. I'm taking this, and all of a sudden, he is angry.
Yeah,
he is angry that Joe Biden,
actually dropped out.
That they're cheating him.
Also, people have pointed out, like, part of this is like the thought of somebody doing this is completely alien to Donald Trump. He can't imagine how this could have happened. Now, you and I were still like, hey, Biden says he's in, he's staying in. But then, Biden didn't. But Trump's view of it is like he can't imagine himself ever doing that.
Dude, he actually went. One of the things that he posted on Truth Social was that that Biden was going to show up at the convention
and try to take it back.
And take it back.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's shit like this. It's unhinged, crazy. Look, but look, the whole thing is, I win, I'm out of jail, all my problems are solved.
Right.
Right now, it's fuck. Not only am I falling behind, I'm going to fucking lose and I'm going to go to fucking jail. Because those are your scenarios if you're Trump.
Right.
I mean, the reality that to him that he is fucked is making him completely unhinged. These guys are trying to. I thought the dumbest fucking thing I've ever seen is that they trotted him out for this press conference with these props. Like it sounded like Infrastructure Week, but now we're going to talk about inflation. And I guess they brought some
like boxes of cereal and stuff. Yeah.
And you know what? He was on subject for like about a millisecond and then just started ranting and raving like a lunatic.
Well, and not only that, he explicitly addressed it. He was like, they're telling me I need to stick to things like the economy and I should lay off on the personal tax. But fuck that. I think I'm entitled to personal tax. And so I'm going to do, you know, because
he literally said this and he was entitled.
He literally said this and then went off about how Kamala Harris is stupid and blah, blah, blah. And, you know, and he doesn't like her and whatever. And, you know, and like the theme of the last week or so has been other Republicans begging Donald Trump to please get on some sort of issue-oriented message and maybe attack Democrats in some of the areas where they seem weaker, maybe talk about issues. And Donald Trump is basically telling those people go screw themselves. No.
Here is the problem. 8 years ago, when Donald won, the way that he won was because basically he shut the fuck up for about 30 days.
Yes.
They took away his phones. They took away his shit. It said, you shut the fuck up. You don't say another word. And, you know, some events happened. You had the Comey letter. You had all this shit happening. And then that happened. Okay. The last election. Okay. You know, he was close, even with all the shit that happened. But the reality is that right now, he has 100% surrounded himself with people that will just let him do whatever the fuck he wants.
Mm-hmm.
And if they can't, and they won't, they're not going to shut him
up.
Well,
and he just brought Lewandowski back into the campaign. Which one of the things people have talked about is this time around, he's had a more disciplined campaign. He's had a more professional campaign staff around him. But the move, and I forget the name of the guy, La something, whatever.
La Civita?
Yeah, La Civita. And basically, La Civita is one of the folks telling him to try to be more disciplined, try to stay on message, blah, blah, blah. And now he brings in Lewandowski, who's one of the folks who was involved in 2016. That and basically, people are reading this as they probably can't both be there. La Civita may be on his way out, if not officially, then it's certainly in terms of influence, because Trump is not liking the advice that's telling him to go talk about the economy, go talk about taxes, go talk about immigration, whatever. And he's like, fuck all that. I want to rant and rave. And so I don't know. Like if there are people surrounding Trump who know the formula to get him ahead again. And I'd mentioned the one of my four models. I'd mentioned the straight trust the polls now has Harris ahead. One of my four models has Harris ahead. Just to be clear, Trump is still slightly ahead in the other three of my probabilistic models. But to get back on track, there are people around Trump who know how to do this, but it involves the kind of discipline. And it like you said, they last time they took away his phone. Basically, it's get him to seem normal for a little while. Get him to seem competent for a little while. That's the magic formula. If you do that, then you're competitive and you can potentially pull this out. If you continue to go crazy, then you're potentially losing people. Now, the other thing that is not on election graphs proper, but I've seen a bunch of analysis from people who've looked at the same polling before and after from the same group of pollsters and things like that. There are a couple things we're seeing. One is that it's really, so far, Trump's numbers haven't actually changed very much. I look mostly at margins on election graphs, but if you look at Trump's numbers versus Harris's numbers haven't changed all that much. What's happened here is that people who were undecided in the Trump versus Biden race are breaking overwhelmingly to Harris.
Well, this is
and that's what's happening right now.
And
also, I saw one other number. I just want to say this. I saw one other number earlier today. I wish I'd retweeted it or whatever, because I didn't, and now I can't find it. But somebody also did a breakdown of men versus women.
No,
for men, the race has the race has basically not changed for men. They are supporting Trump at the same level. They are supporting Harris at about the same level they supported Biden. But for women, there has been a huge move towards Harris, where women who were not on board with Biden are now on board with Harris. And so those are a couple of the big moves.
Look, one of the things that I'd been observing, like before we've gotten to this point now in middle of August, was when you added up the percentages of what they were voting towards, Biden versus Trump, that in so many of the polls, like I'm going to talk more specifically about the national polls specifically,
okay,
which are they're leading indicators to a certain extent of what's happening.
They move faster because there are a lot more of them happening. A lot, blah blah blah.
And the one thing about those is that so many of them weren't even at when you combined it, the combined total of Trump and Biden combined, yeah, exactly. They weren't like even at 90% in a lot of cases. They were like, I mean, and I kept saying, listen, man, we're not getting to a fucking election where 10% of the fucking voters are gonna wind up fucking voting independent. My fucking ass. Hasn't happened. No fucking way. One way or another, this is going to coalesce in some other way or another.
The two things that have been happening.
But wait. So the effect that you've had right now is that the rapidly coalescing event was Biden saying, I'm out, bring Harris in. Yeah. And that moved all those fucking people that were basically just, oh, okay, fine. I made a decision. It's Harris. And it's been like in mass to a certain extent.
Now, I think, honestly, a lot of those undecided people may have eventually come around to Joe when they finally were like, oh, fine. God damn it. It's my only choice. I'll go for Joe. Right. But it would have been a long, hard battle going over the course. It would have been a
harder battle. I totally agree.
And it would have been a slow process over the next few months where people slowly, finally admitted, said, oh my God, this is what I have to do. But Harris jumping in made that happen in a matter of days.
Yeah,
right. All of that motion happened within the first week to 2 weeks after she jumped in. We had all of huge numbers of undecideds have stopped being undecided and are now Harris. They were holding back when it was Biden, but now they're like, okay, I'm in on Harris. And also I'll put out there as well, this was always going to happen, but this has also accelerated over the last month. The complete collapse of Kennedy. His numbers are like a third of what they were a couple months ago. I mean,
Kennedy was trying to get a cabinet job on the fucking Harris administration.
He tried with Trump first.
He tried with Trump first, and Trump.
Trump said no, and apparently he tried to talk to Harris. He actually got a phone call with Trump. Harris wouldn't even take his call.
Yeah, fuck that guy. What the hell? I'm fucking taking this stupid fucking call.
But
look, I'll give you, look how much the race has been shifting, and I'm going to focus on the national polls just because they're further ahead. Okay.
Yes.
I'm looking at. I just pulled up the latest polls on 538 national polls margin for Harris or Trump. Okay.
Yeah, I'm looking
gonna
at
go
that right now.
back.
Which, by the way, their polling average right now has Harris up by 2.6. Like 24 hours ago, it had Harris up by 3, so it's down a little bit from the max. But go ahead.
But look at these polling numbers. Like going back to like
6,
10
8.
days. It was August 6th. It was +1 even. Harris +4. Harris +1. Harris +1. Trump +2. Harris +3. Harris +4. Harris +3. Harris +3. Even. Trump +1. Harris +2. Harris +5. Harris +5. Trump +2. Harris +6. Harris +6. I mean, this isn't slowing down in that direction. The numbers keep getting bigger, okay, toward Harris right now as we're heading towards the convention. And so, I mean, this is obviously the ideal scenario that you want, like right now, in terms of this, if I'm a candidate. I've got momentum in my direction, and I'm going to have a fucking convention that's going to get everybody's attention. Fuck yeah, that's what you want right now. Yes.
Oh, absolutely. I think that we probably are going to get a bump out of the convention, although, like, Harris's big bump was clearly when she got in. Like, you're not going to have that kind of movement again. But
I think you'll get another point. Sure. I think it's good for another couple of points.
I think you're going to have more movement, and then going back to the Trump thing.
Oh, Trump! Listen, here's the thing: Trump, the convention. You want to talk about? He's already been melting down about how much attention he's not getting. It's right. Why he was on with fucking Elon on X, Twitter, bullshit spaces, whatever, talking for a couple of hours, which apparently everybody that listened to it was like, what the fuck is this? Okay. But he's going to be even more unhinged with the convention.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's not gonna improve his mood.
Right. And I think, like, well, and people are, one, you're talking about his mood. Two, people are, now that Biden is out of the race, people are pushing on, what his mental capacity really is.
Right.
And we've talked about it wasn't that great to begin with, like even 8 years ago.
No.
I mean, we had all the reports about from his administration of like, hey, he can't actually read a report, so we have to like condense everything down into like basically slides with cartoons on them in order for him to understand. So and that was 8 years ago or 7 years ago, whatever.
Oh, and then this week he decides to once again shit on the military.
Yes. Well, yes.
I'm like what the fuck?
Well, the things that, because he can't help himself, and this gets back to like how in control of himself is he? What's his mental capacity anyway? Is his mental? Forget about like, Alzheimer's or whatever. He's clearly a mentally ill man. Is it getting worse?
Yes.
And I think the answer is yes. And because it's all being put under stress. And the stress will forget about that. I'm sure there are aging effects here too. There absolutely are. But
the stress has to be.
You take like, pre-existing. The whole like people. I know people are like, oh, you can't diagnose him without properly blah 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 blah. Like there's so many mental health professionals at this point who've been like, look, no, I have not had him in my office, but there's so many hours of public behavior you can just observe. He's clearly, what do they call it? A malignant narcissist or whatever.
Yes.
And, all of these other things associated with that. And they're like, and you're putting all of that under pressure. You're putting in things that pressure his ego, that relies on everybody loving him and looking up to him, and he's the best person ever. And every piece of evidence that you put in front of him that challenges that, whether it be him being behind in the polls or him like getting convicted of something and having some sort of sentence happen, like challenges that kind of stuff and makes him act out more and more. And that's exactly what we're seeing so far. Now, can his staff at some point do a 2016 and take his damn phone away from him and lock him up.
Not going to happen this time.
Lock him up. You know?
Well, that would help everybody. But
well, I mean,
listen,
if you
here's the one
controlled
thing.
his exposure to the public to be
but listen, he has changed. Listen, he was, I think, up until 2020, somebody that to a certain point was allowing himself to be managed. Okay, up to a point. Right now, that he has basically removed every fucking safeguard of anybody that has any fucking, common sense to really stop him. Or if there are around them, none of them will even like attempt to stop him.
Right.
Okay. So I right now they are basically, I mean, Sam held one rally this week. Where the fuck did he go for a rally?
Montana.
Oh, yeah. The great state of Montana. Right. I'm sure that was definitely, helping him move the needle in his direction. Okay. What the fuck? Who the hell in a campaign that like his that is flailing decides to hold a fucking rally in fucking Montana?
I'll tell you the theory behind that rally. Like,
okay.
You can do this logic or not.
Yeah.
This is one of the states that the Republicans are trying to pick up in the Senate. So nominally, he was there to support the Republican candidate going against Senator Tester.
Okay.
Because
hold on
which is
a point of parliamentary procedure.
Yes.
You remember what happened in Georgia in 2020 with there were 2 Senate seats on the line?
Yes.
Did Trump give a fuck about the Senate?
I'm just telling you.
No.
That's nominally why he was there.
Did Trump give a fuck about the Senate?
No. And in fact, he did things that, like, I think
undermined them.
I think it, like, when Trump was doing the whole stop the steal, call the Secretary of Defense, try to get them to, like, whatever. And the statements he was making there against some of the local people, like, if he'd shut the hell up, the Democrats might not have won those 2 Senate seats.
That's right.
Like, I think Trump actually actively participated in the Democrats winning the Senate that year.
Right. And so that's why I call bullshit on him going up there for that. I think that he wanted to go to some fucking place that filled 2 things.
By the way,
I do think that after he got shot,
yes,
I think he's a little bit afraid for his safety. I think that is also impeding his ability to go out and do a rally.
And he basically said, and I mentioned this last week, but he said, like, he wasn't planning on really hitting the campaign trail again until after the Democrats convention was over, which basically took him out of commission for a month, other than a handful of small events. And I think you're probably right. Part of it is probably him being spooked by the assassination attempt. And my God, I mean, I would be too. Let's be honest.
I mean, fuck. Listen, like I said, listen. It is about the only one of the few fucking human reactions this bastard apparently has. Because, look, the first thing I said about when they tried to kill him, what I remarked was how fucked up his reaction was.
Right.
Because it was just nuts. Okay, how he reacted. And now it's like almost post-traumatic where it's actually, oh, fuck, they did almost kill me.
Right. And now the Secret Service is like, okay, we're going to have bulletproof glass in front of him, or bullet resistant glass in front of him, so he can do public events again. Like the Montana event and a couple others were smaller. They were indoors, I believe.
They were smaller,
like they were more
and it was, I mean, it's fucking Montana. I mean, nobody was going
and then his press conferences, he's done at Mar-a-Lago and Bedminster. Bedminster.
Jesus
Not
Christ, we're
Belminster.
butchering every fucking name today. We get to fuck. Holy shit.
But for the record, My election graphs average for Harris versus Trump in Montana right now has Trump ahead by 16.7%.
Yeah.
Now that includes
Very
the
important.
20 that includes the
important state.
2016 and 2020 elections because there have only been 3 polls in Montana since Biden.
Listen, there is no fucking way that this guy went over there to support a fucking senator. I have never. This guy has not cared about anybody else in any race other than himself, and so I'm not sure what. I think that what in his mind going to Montana was like a safe place that he could go and do an event where he would get a crowd that he was comfortable with.
So, by the way, the Republican going up against John Tester is Tim Sheehy.
Huh?
Tim Sheehy.
And how's he doing?
Well, let's put it this way. He doesn't even have a Wikipedia page.
Well, that's interesting.
I'm like, what the why isn't there how can this even be true? Like, I'm looking at the Wikipedia page for the 2024 United States Senate election in Montana. It shows John Tester versus Tim Sheehy.
By the way,
Tim Sheehy is
I just saw, I pulled up something for 14 hours ago. Montana Senate new poll has Tester beating Sheehy 49-44.
Yeah. Which, by the way, like we had talked about, like when we did predictions for this year, like in order for the Democrats to keep the Senate, they have to do a clean sweep. They basically have to win every state. And now it's looking like they might.
Sam, this was a Rasmussen poll. And it has Tester up by 5. Holy shit. I think it might keep Tester. Fuck.
Yeah. I mean, this is one of the ones that Democrats thought they would probably lose.
It's not looking like it.
The Ohio race was also one that they thought, and the Democrats, I believe, still up narrowly in the polls in Ohio as well. You can check if you want, Yvonne. There are a few of those. Like now, I'm not yet saying that it looks like it's going to happen, but like the chances are a lot better than it looks.
Listen. I mean, listen, I'm sorry, but Rasmussen polls have their thumb on the scale. That's just a reality. Okay.
Yeah.
And if Rasmussen is posting a fucking poll that they just posted it right now and it has Tester up by 5, that means Tester may be up by 8 or 10. Right.
Yeah. And there are a number of other states too. And people are talking about, again, Democrats pretty much have to do a clean sweep of all of the states they are defending in the Senate in order to do it. And like a few months ago, people were thinking,
every single poll has Brown
right now.
Every single poll that I've pulled up, the last
as Brown up
by 4 or 5. Yeah, Brown. Yeah, sure.
And so now it looks like the Democrats might get that clean sweep that they need to keep the Senate. And I've even heard people speculating about, is Ted Cruz in trouble in Texas? I mean,
look, Republicans hate Ted Cruz. The problem that Ted Cruz has is that even their fucking Republicans cannot stand him.
Yes.
And so that is the only reason why Ted may be vulnerable, is because it's just the guy is just one of the most unlikable pieces of shit out there. And so the one thing that you could have, how could Ted Cruz lose, is a lot of Republicans go to the polls and they're just like, fuck this. I'm not even marking them off. Fuck this. I can't do it.
Well, this is the thing too, like people are talking about, like one of the reasons the Democrats actively pushed Biden out is they were worried about negative coattails, where, the Democratic Senate candidates were doing better than Biden, and they were worried that Biden would drag them down. Now we're talking about traditional coattails instead. How is Harris going to help the Democrats? Right. Is the enthusiasm about Harris going to, I'm going to use the word twice in one show, like give tailwinds to all these Senate candidates and help push the Democrats over the edge in the Senate? Obviously the House as well. So right now, like all trends are blue. Like, to be clear, the overall we're still in toss-up territory everywhere. Toss-up for the presidency, toss-up for the House, toss-up for the Senate. But right now, all the trends are moving towards blue.
Okay.
Now, will that last all the way from now till November? I don't know.
I'm going to tell you another
we got
guy
80 more days.
who is deeply hated by a lot of people. It's Rick Scott. Okay. In Florida. Florida Atlantic, which is a university near me. They've actually, I've seen that their polling over the last few election cycles has been pretty spot on what the fuck is going on. Okay. They've got that race right now, the last few polls and recently, where they've got Scott up by 4, but it's a 47-43 split, which means that there's a lot of people out there that are like undecided, like right now on that. Listen, Scott, when he won 6 years ago, I think won by less than 10,000 votes.
Right.
Okay. It was paper thin. It was just stupidly thin. And people don't like Rick Scott. I mean, the guy he's a douchebag. He's a little less disliked than Ted Cruz, but not by a lot. And so that's another one where the only reason I bring it up is because, you know what? The last time it was paper thin. It was just so close. So, and by the way, it wasn't expected to be that close.
Right.
So let me pull up the final tally of that election. But yeah, it was 10,000 votes. Rick Scott had 4,000,099. Bill Nelson came up with 4,089. I mean, doesn't get a lot closer than that.
Yeah. So, and since we're talking Florida, let me just talk Florida for the presidency as well. First of all, when the where the polling ended for Biden, when people stopped polling him, had Trump ahead by 5.7% in Florida.
Mm-hmm.
And with 13.9% in the category that said
undecided.
Neither.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Undecided or third party.
Oh, yeah.
That's my election graphs average, of course. For Harris right now, that's actually about the same. It has like Trump ahead by 6. Okay. But I will point out trends, like just looking at I said has Trump ahead by 6, but that neither group is down to 6.7%. Okay. But aside from the average itself, I want to point out the trends on that. There was a poll of Harris versus Trump right before Biden dropped out, where Trump was ahead by over 10% in Florida. And then if you look at the polls since then, there's a couple of outliers from this trend, but we had an insider advantage poll, Trump by 10. Then we had a Redfield and Wilton, Trump by 8. Then University of North Florida, Trump by 7. Then Redfield and Wilton, Trump by 6. Then Suffolk, Trump by 5. Then we just had a poll come out this week from Main Street, and if you average the with and without Kennedy, Trump only by 2.5. Now there were a couple outliers. There was an additional Trump by 8.2 from Active Vote and McLaughlin by 8 that were not on that trend line I showed. They were a little higher, but the trend is like almost every poll that has come out has showed Florida closer than the poll before. Like I said, in the end, the average right now is still Trump up by 6. It's not right. Like and that's over the last 2 weeks. So that's a fairly recent polling. So I'm not ready to say Florida's in play yet, but the trend in Florida, just like everywhere else, has been moving rapidly towards Harris. If it moves a few more percent, then yeah, Florida's in play too. You know,
I think the one thing, the one other state that, you know, like Georgia. I mean, look.
Oh yeah,
Biden won Georgia. Okay, you know that was one. And look, like right now, it's at the same margins where like Biden won the last time. The state.
Well,
listen, this is not
my,
this is a state that
my
is
average in my poll average in Georgia right now has Trump up by 0.8%.
Right. This is a state,
and this is another one where you know. Let me check the Biden number real quick. Biden's final number was Trump up by 4.5 in Georgia. Harris has it at 0.8, and again with a rapid trend towards her over the last few weeks. Now, again, at some point the move towards Harris has to stop. You know, we're not going to have, you know, Harris winning 48 states in DC. You know,
well,
but
I mean, I don't know. I mean, for all we know, Trump could come out and like, I don't know, maybe shoot Melania or something. For all we fucking know.
Yes. Well, I heard people spinning scenarios at this point of like, okay, well, Trump clearly at this point thinks Vance was a mistake. Maybe he dumps Vance, and then the only possible rational replacement would be Haley. Although Trump hates Haley, but they're like, well, but the party would force him to pick Haley. Yeah, right. Whatever. Pick Haley, and then Trump trumps out, and then we have Harris versus Haley, and then that changes everything.
That wouldn't happen in 1 billion years. Well, I mean, the part where Trump dumps Vance, I see that's or tries to dump him. Can he dump him? Can he just say "fuck you"? How does that work?
Well, I mean, remember there was that who was it, Eagleton, who got pushed out by the Democrats in I forget 68, 72. I forget when that was.
Okay. So that can happen.
Basically, and to show how times have changed, the reason, I mean, it came out that he had seen a psychiatrist. And then he had to drop out. I think he cried or something, like when he was asked about it.
Fucking Christ's sakes. What the fuck? What the? Oh, okay. Well, all right.
Anyway, like, so it has happened where the vice president has been pushed out after the convention. Basically, the RNC would have to meet and pick a new one. Now,
okay, so all right, so they can do that. But look, he's not.
Wait, one more thing. Wait. We got ballot deadlines too, though. Like at this point, we are now several weeks past where we were talking about like it is now getting difficult to change ballots. So some states you can change it, some states you can't, some states you can change it only under certain circumstances. But the bottom line, protection against all of this stuff is, in the end, it's the electors voting. And so almost up to the very last minute, the RNC could tell electors do something else. Now, there are a few states that bind them, so that introduces complications.
He might just shoot Vance.
Yeah, it actually becomes easier to replace somebody on the ballot if they're dead. If someone is dead, it's easier to replace them on the ballot.
That's why I'm saying.
Yeah.
Well, I think here's one thing though. Look, he's not going to put Haley. I mean, have you seen all the backlash that JD Vance's wife has gotten because she's of Indian heritage?
Yes.
I mean, so what? You think this is going to appease the racists to put Haley on?
Although in that interview that came out where Vance apparently agreed with the notion that the only purpose of postmenopausal women is to be grandmothers to their grandchildren, same interview that he also sort of now to be clear on all of this, Vance did not say this himself. The interviewer said it, and Vance sort of made affirming, noises. And Vance is now saying he didn't really agree with him. He was not along to the thing he said before that and didn't realize. But also, he said that the interviewer said, and Vance seemed to agree, that apparently one of the big advantages of marrying into an Indian family was that the grandparents were even more dedicated to this kind of stuff, because they apparently his mother-in-law had a fairly high-powered job and quit the job and moved in with them to help with care of the baby after they started having kids, and lived with them for a year. And in the interview, it's well, that's one of the advantages of marrying into an Indian family. They're like that, so.
Okay, so all right, how
so yes, the racism.
Yes, how does this address the racists?
Were
you putting in Haley? Wait, we got the misogynists and the racists. So you got, it's a, I don't see how. I mean, it would be Haley. It's got to be somebody. It's got to be some other,
I honestly, I think
boy.
at this point, he's sticking with Vance. I think the maximum danger point for Vance has passed. And I think unless more comes out, they're sticking with Vance. Because at this point, there's a cost to a switch.
I still don't fucking.
Although we thought that with Biden, we thought there'd be a cost to a switch, and there wasn't. So maybe Trump could dump somebody, dump Vance, and pick somebody that miraculously will completely undo all of the poll changes.
I know. I got the answer. I got the perfect answer. She's available. Palin.
I thought you were going to say Fiorina.
Oh, no, that's, that's another. No. Palin, man.
Okay.
I mean, why not recycle Palin?
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah. At this point, to really shake this up and reverse the trends that we've been seeing over the last month, I think, we've talked about can Trump discipline himself, and have come to the conclusion no. That would be one way to stabilize this, is if Trump actually acted normal from now until the election. The other would be that you do have a Trump replacement on the Republican side, and we don't end up with the Trump part of the Biden versus Trump either. And then depending on who the RNC put in, completely different race. But unlike Biden, there is no freaking way Trump would do that himself. So I think that would only happen, if Trump was, if Trump actually died or was physically incapacitated in such a way that he couldn't.
This Republican Party is so beholden to Trump. Never happening. I don't. It's like a suicide pact at this point.
Yeah, it is. And look, they'll, what was it? I'm blanking. Oh, is South Carolina Senator guy. What's his name? I just blanked up. Yeah, Lindsey Graham. Lindsey Graham went back in 2015, early 2016, when he was running against Trump, said explicitly, if we pick Trump, it will destroy the Republican Party. Mm-hmm. Now, he ended up winning, but I think his prediction of it destroying the Republican Party is still playing out. I mean, frankly, even if Trump wins this time around, what survives of the Republican Party going forward after Trump, whenever Trump is gone, is going to be
nothing.
Nothing. All of the principles that the Republican Party traditionally held are gone.
No, but even beyond that, Sam, the organization, the machinery, the fundraising,
it's all been hollowed out. Yes,
he has completely decimated that.
All of it. Yes,
all of it. The local organizing, the field offices, everything. He has completely decimated that. Look what's been happening, all these parties in different states where you've had these crises where they've had no money, where they're fighting amongst each other. They can't decide anything. They can't do anything. This has been an ongoing saga that you've seen. And listen, if Trump, right now, loses again,
yeah,
they are in exactly that scenario. they've got nothing left. And the problem that they've got is that my thought is, even if he loses, if he's not dead, he's going to try to run again.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I totally believe.
I could see that.
He's not.
I could see him announcing his candidacy the day after
he loses. Yeah,
well, he's never going to admit he loses either. He's going to contest it again, just like he did last time, and pretend it's a steal and blah blah blah. Go through all the courts, try to get another riot, try to get the House to do something. Yeah, blah blah. It probably won't succeed, but he's going to try all of that stuff again. So he'll never admit he loses. But then I could see him immediately thereafter being like, well, you know,
I'm running again.
2028 is coming up. You know, now just like he is deteriorating with age, though. Like, I can't imagine adding another 4 years to this Donald Trump.
Listen, you know, I understand how bad it would be, but I'm telling you that he will try.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I don't disagree.
So, Jesus Christ, keep getting this son of a bitch is like a fucking cockroach. Never been able to get rid of this bastard. God's sake, son of a bitch.
Well, yeah. You keep predicting every year he's going to have a heart attack. Hasn't happened yet.
Fucker.
Except there was that one mysterious visit to the hospital that we never found out what happened.
That's right.
Yeah, well, so who knows?
Shit. Well, Sam, I mean, Jesus Christ, it talked about my death prediction. I'm sorry, but a bullet came within what? How many inches of fucking doing it? Like what? Maybe 1 inch? 2 inches?
Yeah, something like that. Yep. So, okay, did we miss anything, Yvonne? Or can we wrap this sucker up?
No, we can wrap this sucker up.
Okay. Thanks, everybody, for listening to yet another Curmudgeon's Corner as Yvonne and I ramble on about this and that and that and this. Go to curmudgeons-corner.com. You can find all the ways to contact us. You can find an archive of our shows, including transcripts recently. Well, recently, it's been like 3/4 of a year now. I don't know. It's been a while since I added transcripts. You can find all that stuff. I have not yet added a link to the YouTube. If you want to go to the YouTube, I'll do it eventually. But, you know, now I have the I'm sick excuse, you know, so, but it's youtube.com/@curmudgeons-corner if you want to check any of these episodes out on video and like and subscribe and blah, 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 blah. You can be notified of the live streams when they happen.
Blah, 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 blah,
blah, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I post about the live streams on Mastodon, and you can have YouTube notify you if you want to see. Last week, when I was by myself, the entire time it said somebody was watching, but I'm not sure if that might have been me. I might have accidentally opened it in another window and seen it that way. I don't know. But anyway, if you're interested in that, you can have the unedited version with all the ums and ahs and interruptions. And of course, the website, curmudgeons-corner.com, also links to our Patreon, where you can give us money at various levels. We will send you a postcard. We will send you a mug. We will mention you on the show. We will ring a bell, all that kind of fun stuff. And at $2 a month or more, or if you just ask us, we will invite you to the Curmudgeon's Corner Slack, where Yvonne and I and a bunch of listeners are chatting and sharing links and blah, blah, blah. More blah, blah, blah. More blah, blah. More blah, 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 blah. Anyway, we're doing that all week long. It would be great if more of you could join us. So if you're interested, let us know. So Yvonne, what's something from the Curmudgeon's Corner Slack in the last week that we have not talked about on the show that would entice people to come join our Slack because they have missed it because they weren't on the Slack?
Musk's new AI image generator immediately used to troll him. Images
and videos
flooded,
too.
and videos. Images, what the heck? Images flooded X showing Musk carrying out a school shooting with Mickey Mouse or being led on a leash by Donald Trump. And I'm looking at a picture so disgusting of Donald and him kissing.
No, men kissing is fine.
Now,
admittedly, it's Donald and Elon.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, I kiss guys, okay, as a hello. Okay, that's not a big deal. Okay,
with tongue, I'm sure.
Not with tongue. I don't kiss like casual. Listen, I don't kiss casual people with tongue. Okay, it's only for
in the ear, tongue in the ear.
Yeah, no, on the cheek.
No,
no. Yeah, but
you just lick their cheek.
Yeah, but see these two clouds.
Yeah, no.
God. Yeah.
What's the name of this thing? Grok? Is it? It's Grok, right?
Grok XAI.
Yeah.
Grok
people...
2, the latest version of the chatbot startup, is available on X Premium subscribers. Appears to let users make images that would fall foul of content restrictions used by some similar tools. As a result, bizarre and occasionally disturbing images were shared on X, depicting real people, including Musk himself.
I'll add, you mentioned Mickey Mouse. It's not just real people. It's also copyrighted intellectual property stuff that, like a lot of these other AI generated tools, they're not very good at it. You can get around it. So like if you want to do like Disney characters doing stuff, you can do it in the others. But most of the others have some level of protection to make it harder to do that. Apparently Grok has none of that because it's like, free speech or whatever.
Well, and one of them shows the Tesla boss holding a sign simply reading, "I am a pedo."
Nice. But like the copyrighted stuff is going to get them in trouble even faster than this stuff. I mean, like Elon's probably going to freak about these, and people have probably already been fired over this.
I'm sure they're already shut it down.
But
Mickey Mouse saluting Adolf Hitler and Donald Duck using heroin.
But how long will it take before Disney's lawyers have talked to X about this?
I'm sure they're already doing so right now.
Yes, this is the kind of thing that Disney does not smile at.
No, not particularly. No.
Disney is one of the companies that is well known for being really aggressive about their intellectual property.
Here, I'm going to say that
to the point where they were. I think they've calmed down a little bit on this, but for a while they were like they were in the news for like going after like preschools that had hand painted Mickeys painted on the walls and stuff.
Yeah, they don't go after that. But for example, I do know for
they used to. They stopped because of
they don't. But I know for a fact that they will, for example, like certain plays made out of Disney movies.
Mm-hmm.
They will allow it, but you better stick to their rules and restrictions around those, or otherwise you're done.
Right.
Okay. Like you can't live. Okay, you want to do the play? Great. You can't live stream it. You can't post it on YouTube. You can't do that. You have to do all these things around them. For example, if not, then they'll drop the hammer on you. Okay.
And of course, like with all of these companies, like if you do that, you generally have to pay a license fee anyway. But I think Disney is pretty aggressive about that. It varies by company, but Disney is one of the more aggressive in terms of those kinds of things. Anyway, I'm sure like Disney and others will be going after X for what Grok is doing. But you don't need, like I said, I don't think you even need it because it's showing Elon himself in a negative light. He's going to crack down on him. Yeah, he'll take care of this himself. So anyway.
Basically, all right, okay,
we're done. Okay, that's it. Thank you, everybody. Have a nice, safe, exciting week. Do we have anything? Is there anything like? Is it a holiday yet? No, it's not. It's not the holiday yet. We got a couple more weeks to that. Got like Olympics are over. Oh, we got the DNC coming up. So like before we have our next show, the Democratic National Convention will have happened. Hopefully, it will be fun and exciting, and Harris will do well, and all of the ex-presidents and Hillary Clinton will be there and do exciting things. It's it's feeling like it's going to have a lot more energy than the RNC had. We'll see.
Well, let's just say that what the one thing that I found exciting, and I'm hoping that he's well enough to be there. Jimmy Carter basically said that he wants to just right now stay alive to be
long enough to
vote for Harris. That was one of the fucking coolest things I've heard.
Yeah,
I must say.
Yeah, and so he's that was touching. Like,
Yes.
and you know, he's been on hospice for like a year.
Yeah.
You know, and I've heard interviews with his grandson saying, like, you know, when he entered hospice, we were expecting days. It's been a year. You know, so
And
he's
look,
hanging in there.
Hospice, you know, like sometimes people think it's like, you know, they're ill enough that they need that care. Sometimes, yeah, and people expect that they will die, but it's not like they're actively trying to have them die either.
Right.
Okay. All right. You know, I just think that
But
it's
yeah,
been
but
the best, most palliative treatment for him in order for him to be as comfortable as possible. And well, he's
there you
managed
go.
to be around me. I hoping
so
that
we'll see.
Yeah.
But we'll see if he makes. But the convention itself. I mean, to be clear, the Republicans had a bunch of energy. They were sure they were like on a glide path to a win, and now everything's changed. We'll see how the Democrats do. I think it's going to be good.
Let's be clear, using a term, it was weird energy. I mean,
yes.
The people they had on stage talking. I mean, they had they had Hulk Hogan. What the fuck?
Well, they had a bunch of sort of washed up 80s people, and people have pointed out, Trump is mentally stuck in the 80s, so it all makes sense.
Yeah. Anyway, all right.
Okay, we were saying
everybody.
goodbye. Good. Have a great week. Stay safe. We'll talk to you next time. Goodbye. Say goodbye, Yvonne.
Bye.
Okay, thank you, Yvonne. I'm gonna probably go crash and get more COVID rest. Fun.
All right.
Okay,
We'll do that.
Bye.
Bye. Okay, let's upload.
Hitting stop.
Stop.